Ronald Acuna Jr. may be cooked is the nonsense that I have been reading on all platforms across all social media. Look, Ronald is off to one of the slowest starts of his career, and there's no hiding it. You can look on his Baseball Savant pages, as you can see right here. The difference between 2025 and 2026 is pretty drastic, but it's not because he's hurt. Let me explain to you why. All right, so on the left, we have 2023 Ronald Acuna Jr., and on the right, we have present-day Ronald here in 26. Let's start with the differences that I see. Obviously, you guys can already see his legs are a little bit more wide here in 26. Again, I don't feel like that's going to be a problem, but what he is doing is an issue right now. So let's talk about it. Let's start with the hips. In 23, you can kind of already see his hips are turned in a little bit more, and they're already kind of preset to that hip coil or that hip internal rotation. You can see on 26, there is none. He's just like he's standing there going to church on a Sunday morning. So his hands, look at his hands. They are higher on 23 than they are in 2026. That matters as well. He also has a little bit of a preload into his scap or his shoulder blade, another word if you will, in 2023, which again presets the load and helps you load more consistently, helps everything flow a whole lot better if you just preset it. 2026 is everything's just relaxed. He is just completely relaxed, which again, there's nothing wrong with that if you can repeat it. Ronald hasn't been able to repeat it or get on time at all here lately with this current setup. So the next part of the swing that we are looking at is Ronald in his mid-load point. So this is the point where he's gathered everything up onto his backside and he's about to stride forward. On the left side, let's take a peek. Let's take a look at that hip coil. He's got a really good hip coil into that back hip. He's got really good hip internal rotation. The reason why that is big is because when you stride forward, this keeps all your weight back. This keeps you center. This keeps your head still. This helps you store that power, so when you're ready to swing the bat and unleash it, you can let it rip. All that power is stored, and it's going to come through into your swing, and it's going to be generated up the chain into the bat and go into the ball. The next part that I really see, his knee is completely straight just about, because he is really focused on loading into that back hip. That is really good for Ronald. Also, look at the hands. They're loaded. They're moving back. He's loading into that scap. If you come over here to the right side, present day, he has no load in his hands. They're just sitting there. And he's at the point where he should already be coiled up and loaded. And the only thing he has to do is move his front leg forward. But as you can see, he has no coil into that back hip. And if he does, it's very, very little. Look at the knee bend. He is bent on that back knee. So that is telling me that his weight, his pressure is on that back knee. It is not into that back hip, which when you don't have your energy stored in that back hip and you go to stride forward, you tend to jump at the baseball. It means your head moves a whole lot more than it should. And what does that do, chat? When your head moves every inch or something, you're adding 2 to 3 miles per hour on the pitch. So again, it is not good. And with these problems right here, this is explaining a lot to me as to why Ronald is having a hard time hitting the fastball. All right, so the next part of the swing for Ronald that we're going to be looking at is going to be his stride. The main thing I want you guys to pay attention to in his stride is how long it takes him to get loaded and how long it takes him to get his front foot down on the right side, which is 26, compared to the left side, which is 2023. Everything is going nice and smooth for Ronald, and then before you know it, his left side is completely loaded. In 2023, he gets his front foot down so much quicker. Look at the hand load. His hands are nice and loaded. His scap is nice and loaded. He's got a beautiful hip coil. That hip internal rotation into that back hip is good. He's planted in that backside. He's not crashing forward. He just strided forward with that front leg and that front toes just touching. Everything is perfect. I mean, you couldn't teach this any better. Everything is absolutely beautiful. Meanwhile, on the right side here in 2026, hands aren't loaded. He's completely standing on the back leg. He has no hip coil, no hip internal rotation. He's got no scap load. He is not ready to hit a baseball, and it is evident this is not good here on the right. This is bad. This is poor timing. Everything is starting super late. And the reason why Ronald is so late right now is because he is starting open. It is a longer process for him to get fully loaded and get on time than it was when he was a little bit closed, and that is not a bad thing. He can still make it work. He needs to start earlier, and he needs to start with a more preset load. He needs to start with more internal rotation in his hip. He needs to start with more of a scap load. He needs to start with his hands a little bit higher. Those are the things that I think Ronald needs to do to get back on track. Now, with all that being said, Ronald's not cooked. Ronald is going to figure this out, and I believe he's going to be better than ever when he does. So, if you guys really enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on X at DisgustingBravesHomer27. I am at BravesHipCoil over on YouTube, and I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown, and let me know who else y'all want to see a breakdown on.
You know what, boys? You guys are going to be world champions for the rest of your life.